Hello, everyone. This is Spiral Out Podcast, and I'm Kris West, where we talk about artists and creators working at the intersection of music, film, and visual culture. Today, I'm joined by artist Jacob Roanhaus, whose work spans wearable 3D art, creature creation, masks, and visual effects. He's collaborated with bands like Tool, creating custom suits for Danny Carey. He made a Tool poster. He designed a mask for Corey Taylor of Slipknot, worked with Lady Gaga, and has even appeared in the Star Wars universe. In this conversation, we talk about the craft behind building these characters, the idea of character illusion, and what it takes to bring creatures and costumes to life in music, film, and pop culture. And make sure you go to rockabilly.com for all your official merch needs. Use code Spiral Out to get 10% off. Thank you for listening. Spiral Out. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spiral Out Podcast. I'm your host, Kris West. And today, big guest for the show, Jacob Roanhaus. We've had a little bit of back and forth, and we finally got you in a show, and I'm really excited.
Yeah. I kind of have floating schedules, so I appreciate the flexibility.
You do a whole lot, and we'll get into it. And you're not just again, I don't think any artist that works with Tool is just like a poster artist, right? They usually do a myriad and eclectic amount of things. And you're no different in that. You have a complete body of work that goes from one spectrum of media and art to the other.
That's right. I crush a couple of genres and dabble in different creative entities.
From what I understand, you work in movies. You do creature creation. You make art. You worked with many bands. Am I missing something in there that can you tell the audience kind of like what your career is like right now and what you do?
Yeah. I work a lot with like wearable 3D art. Sometimes that's special makeup effects. Sometimes that's specialty costumes. Sometimes that's stuff for bands, movies, commercials, things like that. I do a little bit of work for like high fashion artists, not just metal bands and things. So I dabble and try to apply my skills wherever I can. I do a little bit of writing, and I directed a music video with my friend Taz for Volto. So I guess I'm just really passionate about character illusions.
The first time you came into my stratosphere is you had made this suit for Danny Carey from Tool. It was actually a couple of suits, I think. A skeleton one and then one of like chakras and like very Alex Gray. I'm sure people that listen to this podcast have seen it. Can you talk a little bit about like your introduction to that band and we'll kind of go from there?
Yeah, definitely. I met the Tool guys like years and years ago, maybe like 24 years ago, 23 years ago or so. And I was doing some body paint at a concert, and they took some pictures and got my info and kind of created this friendship naturally. I'm kind of in the same area as where Adam grew up in the Midwest, and him and his brother have been really, friends of mine and very inspirational people in my life. Big Tool fan, of course, favorite band for a long time. It was very cool and honorable to be able to, talk with this team, build a trust, and be able to be inspired on another level through what they're doing. I was always a big makeup effects fan, and inspired by that, I did a lot of makeup in my high school theater. And like I said, I was doing these body paint projects, and one of them was this, Tool body paint thing. And yeah, so I had a career in makeup effects, and then, years and years later, Danny had this idea of maybe changing up what he's wearing on stage. And he was like, I kind of always wanted to do this thing, like this wearable painting, this wearable suit, and, he wanted the anatomy style, and he was kind of like leaning towards this other thing. So he asked me one time, I'd like to go see them live, most people do. Pretty fantastic performance. And so he mentioned that, and kind of came up with some concepts, and that's kind of how it came about. Those concepts got approved, moved on to the build stage of building the suit to his custom fit, doing that as a painting as opposed to kind of a printed unit. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, so it's all hand painted.
Yeah, there's little aspects that we do get printed. My friend Taz did like the shocker designs. There's a couple other aspects that we get printed on fabric to build the suit, and then paint. And there's a lot of layers of paint. We did black light treatments on them, so they would have a little bit of pop and movement on stage if the guys wanted, and that's been kind of a successful experiment. That's been really fun, and he seems to really like them. He says that they're very breathable. He was nervous about being too warm because he's always using the jerseys and things, and just being able to have a lot of flow with his body, a lot of movement, and I think he feels really comfortable in them, and it's been fun to see him play. It's been fun to see him projected large when they do any like live camera trickery, and just honored to be able to participate.
He is not a small fellow. He's not a small guy.
No, not at all.
I guess I'm curious. I'm curious on how, like, when they give you the measurements and like what kind of like how do you find a blank suit to be printed on? I guess like you do costumes and creature effects, so I'm sure this is something that is quite easy for you to get. But I in turn am curious on like where do you even start? And not only that, how tall is he?
He's like 6'5", somewhere in there. Sometimes I feel he's taller on other days and a little bit shorter on other days. I don't know.
Right.
But
Yeah, sure.
you know, he's a pretty big guy, pretty lean. I have similar proportions. I'm a pretty tall guy as well. So that was an asset so that I could test drive these things and make sure that, you know, he'd be able to sit, play, move, get in and out without having it be an obstruction. Whenever we build something to wear, it's really convenient to try to get the shape of the person that's going to be wearing it. A lot of times in the larger budget films, we have the advantage of being able to duplicate the artist. I didn't really get Danny for any fittings. He's a very busy guy, and
You didn't get to mold his entire giant body.
I didn't get him to sit there for hours and go through the process. You know, he's busy. He plays in a lot of bands. He attends a lot of shows. He spends a lot of time with his family, and I also have my scheduling things. I have to do things to be able to pay the bills, and
Sure.
sometimes jobs overlap. So I didn't really have his exact proportions, but I did know that, you know, we had similar sizings on things, and I could go off that. And I knew his height, I knew his weight, you know, I knew his approximate size in most cases. And I sourced a mannequin through a studio that I work at sometimes. It's also a studio, a team that Adam used to work with when he was in the makeup effects team back before.
Is that Stan
Tool
Winston's company?
launched. Yeah, well, it's a company. Stan Winston passed away, and then his whole team.
That's right.
Of lead artists and designers formed a co-op called Legacy Effects, and
That's right. Yeah.
I've been fortunate to work with them, and they've helped Tool out quite a bit, like with 3D printed skull merch and things like that. And they've done a lot of prototyping and producing for that.
That's right.
Yeah, and so, you know, these are Adam's buddies from back in the day, and so they were gracious enough to help me out. It worked. So we borrowed a mannequin that was much larger than your average fella. So we fitted the suit to that, made some adjustments to make it easy for him to get in and out. And then I wrapped that mannequin so I didn't destroy it, and a plastic wrap, and then painted on the suit. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
You have 2 suits?
There's 3 suits, 3 different designs. There's the kind of anatomy figure, which I showed up with the suit as kind of a prototype. Like, what do you think of this? We can make some adjustments. Is it going to fit? Does he like it? And he was like, oh, this is great. This is
Yeah.
cool. I think I'll wear it tonight. And I'm like, oh my gosh. If I would have known you were wearing it tonight, there would have been more things I could have, this is just, I thought maybe I'd have a little more time to make some adjustments, but he really liked it and it was really successful. And then he asked for another one, which was kind of the chakra design with the meridian lines and kind of like an energy X-ray style. And then the other one was the skeleton suit, and Danny wanted a couple snakes on there, so we incorporated that. It's pretty cool. I made a mask.
Yeah.
He wore it a couple of times. I think he
Yeah,
wore it.
that's what I was going to ask about next is the skeleton mask.
Chile. And so that was pretty cool. That wasn't really discussed or anything, but I was like, well, it looks good with the suit. We'll throw it in, and if he wants to use it every once in a while, he can. Or if he wants to give it to his kids and they have a fun Halloween, he can do that too.
That in turn, I don't know if it led to, but I mean, they trust you as an artist at this point, and I'm sure over the years. So you have this relationship, and how did the poster come about? You did a poster for one of the festivals they did in...
It was actually Sao Paulo, Brazil, Lollapalooza poster. And that was a collaboration between me and my friend Taz Lemur. He's an artist friend I met years back, and we'd been teaming up, and I often do like whatever's in front of the camera, help kind of create a character, whether that be makeup or costume elements, sourcing a performer. In this case, it was our friend Shannon, and she was gracious enough to come hang out with us and do an art day. And Taz does all the photography. He's the videographer and photographer, and he works for a lot of like large scale magazines, and we've done like the Volto music video together. And if you see characters that I've worked on or built on my own, he oftentimes, most of the time, does the photography. He's the best. I love working with him. We come up with great ideas. And so we heard they were looking for some poster designs, and we kind of like slipped a couple options of stuff that we had worked on to the team, and they ended up kind of deciding on that one, and I think it looked really cool and got a good kind of reception from it. People seem to dig it. I thought it was cool because they don't do a whole lot of like photography style posters, so
yeah,
it's unique.
No, it is. It's cool. I haven't seen a lot of photography style ones, and I was wondering if it was like a double exposure, or like did you do a lot of that? Because you said it was one person. Like, was that done on camera, or was there some editing?
There was a little bit of editing there. We took Shannon and we wanted to kind of photograph her in a couple different poses and postures that had a different feel to try to create this two-headed character.
Like Siamese.
I think it was pretty successful. Shannon's a very expressive performer, and yeah, thanks, man. And it's cool to be able to collaborate with friends. And I spend a lot of time alone in the garage doing art, and that can be very isolating. So to collaborate, I feel like a little more exciting, and everyone can bring their best, and it turns out better than what you can do on your own.
Oh yeah, pun intended. Two heads are better than one.
I love it.
Now that we kind of got some of the tool stuff out of the way, I'm very interested in other parts of your career. Because again, this is Spiral Out. We have tool focus, but I like when we get into the other stuff people may not know about you. Everybody, I'm sure, that listens to this podcast knows you did a tool poster and you made those suits for Danny, and those are amazing. But you've done a lot of other amazing work. And you've made stuff for other artists too. Like I seen you made a mask for Corey Taylor, for Tech Nine. I'd love to hear some stories on those, and you played a character in Star Wars, and again, you've done just so much, and I want to cover as much as I can. Maybe we can start at the Corey Taylor mask, because that is a very famous mask in my opinion. It was like right after Paul Gray died. They were a little bit more brutal, a little more like in your, I don't know, I guess in your face at that point. It was darker, and that mask was one that when I saw it was like, God damn, like they're going for it.
Yeah, that album era I felt was really heavy, but still had a lot of melody, really strong melody, not only vocally
Yeah.
but with other instruments as well. And I always kind of go back to that era often and listen to it. Of course, their whole catalog is amazing, and their whole career is fantastic. And yeah, I was able to make a mask for Corey. This is kind of like the prototype castings. He had reached out to me and said that he was trying to do some adjustments to what he had. He kind of liked the style that he already had with the double face mask, but he wanted some things changed. Said he was having a lot of pain, and he wanted to try to make it as light as possible. He didn't want to do latex. There are a lot of specifications that I tried to navigate to create a design that was captivating on stage and functional. And that guy was really cool to work with. He was just a fantastic person, client. We kind of became friends, and yeah, it was cool. It's got 2 layers, so the character can kind of do this, I don't know, strip tease on stage, if you will. You kind of have 2 characters in one, and this was his idea, to be able to have the top be removable and show something else. And these pieces aren't completely painted or anything. They just have the very base paint. They're made out of urethane, out of a flexible urethane, so that they're very durable and very light. While I was working on them, he was like, hey, I'm going to be in town. Can I stop by and see your progress? And I said, sure, man, stop on by. They're like almost there. They're ready to try on. And, if you have notes or would want to make adjustments, now would be a good time. They had a tour coming up, so there was this deadline. He's like, good, man, because I broke my neck and I need to, I need to see if this is going to work. I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, I just got back from the doctor. I haven't told anyone yet, so don't tell anybody, but I broke my neck. I was like, well, he's like, I'll tell you more when I get there. So he shows up in my little studio.
When that happened.
Yeah, and he was like, so yeah, I broke my neck. Apparently, years of head banging, or maybe this one time I fell off the stage, or maybe both. But he said he was having a lot of pain, and he had to have a surgery. So like, then the next week he comes back from the surgery. I make the little adjustments, get the masks to the level that they need to be to go on tour, and comes by after his surgery. And Alice in Chains was playing on the little stereo while I was working, and he just rounds the corner and opens the door singing Alice in Chains, and like belted it out for a minute. It was kind of a surreal moment with his neck brace on, kind of Kool-Aid Man in singing Alice in Chains with his neck brace, and it was a moment. It was pretty cool. So yeah, he toured with them for a while. Thankfully, the design was open so that he could get his neck brace on. And, the fans had some good things to say. And I was grateful to be able to participate with that band, because they were really, but yeah, so they were awesome. Yeah. And, Midwest heroes, right?
Right, Iowa.
I suggested this design that the brow kind of creates this X in the forehead, and you kind of continue that on with some of his other characters later on with the makeup under the mask and things like that. It's kind of rad.
It's kind of like a Charlie Manson thing.
In a way, I don't know. I think Charlie Manson had the swastika, so I don't think I was really going for that. Just something like kind of grumpy and metal about putting this X through the forehead like that. I don't know. It was a cool look.
Maybe I was thinking of Rob Zombie. I think Rob Zombie did that.
Oh, there you go. Rob Zombie might have done something like that. Yeah, I think he was doing X's in his forehead.
So yeah, you've worked with a few artists and stuff, and like you said, it's these surreal moments.
Yeah, I mean, I used to do a lot of stuff for pop stars like Lady Gaga and Katy Perry.
Please tell me about this.
Costume design team got my information, and they had some like music video stuff that they needed made on a, a tight turnaround. A lot of headgear, not necessarily masks all the time, sometimes helmets, headdresses of sorts. And I've made some stuff for them. I never worked with the team. I've never dealt with Lady Gaga directly. I've built some stuff that she's worn. Built some stuff for Katy Perry's dancers and her live shows.
Again, yeah, I guess I don't run into it a lot. I talk to a lot of artists on this show, and they're great at creating posters or painting. I haven't met or talked to a lot of people that build something in a 3D space or something that's worn, and it's interesting because it's. I guess what do you think that you attack a project differently than, let's say, drawing something? I mean, it must,
Well,
right? Because it's in a 3D space.
yeah, I'm really inspired by like sculpture, 3D art. I love paintings. I love anything that stimulates thought or mood. I do have a darker aesthetic at times, but I like stuff in a 3D space, and I like surrealism. And there's something about like a character illusion creating something that looks realistic, but it's like a magic trick. It's not really what it is. I don't really have a lot of good drawing
Like your
skills.
poster.
Exactly. My drawing skills aren't really strong. I can kind of create a concept, but to feel like it's a successful design, I have to realize it in 3D space. I'm like tactile. I want to touch it. I want to wear it, or I want someone else to wear
Yeah.
it. There's something about the body paint, the skin suits, the makeup effects, the masks, the helmets. You build it, it's not this static thing. It lives, it has mood, it thinks, it feels. When someone wears it and performs it, I don't know, I think it takes on something else, and that stimulates me, you know?
I fancy myself a film historian, and you know, going all the way back to the original Frankenstein and
One of my
what is his name?
favorites.
Boris Karloff. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
amazing.
putting pins and stuff in his face and to manipulate his skin so that you can bring this character to life, and that bleeds down into you. Do you remember when you caught that bug, or like you started to lean into that?
I feel like I was always very, very interested and inspired by that. I remember the classic monsters. I remember Halloween. My older brother's 9 years older than me, so his name is Chris as well. He was really
Nice.
inspiring. He would show me Star Wars and creature movies. We'd watch that when we were young, and I always felt for the characters that were non-human or humanoid, distorted in a way. I think it's a really interesting way to tell a story. I remember like Chewbacca, even like Muppets, like Sesame Street stuff. So I knew those were puppets. Like Big Bird is like a guy in there somehow making that work. But
Yeah.
what a cool illusion, right? What a cool magic trick. Even as an adult, it's amazing.
Yeah, because it initiates that suspension of reality, right? You are
Yeah,
now in it, in the story.
it like pulls you in there somehow. You're allowed to do things that you maybe wouldn't be able to do with a person that wasn't so surreal. The message doesn't land, the fable doesn't, the delivery doesn't happen.
Speaking of Star Wars, you not only created some things for different Star Wars projects, but you also played a character in one. I'm trying to remember his name. Groob. If I have, am I
Blurb.
correct?
Yeah, Blurb.
Glurb.
Yeah, that was
Glurb. I was close.
Yeah, that was a show called Skeleton Crew, which is on Disney streaming.
Yeah.
So I was in there for a couple episodes. I also played a character in Obi-Wan, a quick walk-on creature. That one I was able to build on and then perform, which is kind of cool. Double dip it. Yeah, that was a pretty fantastic time. I had a scene with Jude Law. He's very he's very good. It was almost distracting how well he
No,
was
no,
acting. It was like a master class. I was like, wow, dude.
because he's A-list. Not that
Oh yeah,
you're
he's
not or
A-list, and
whatever, but
he's.
again,
Oh,
I
I'm not. I'm just a guy that makes stuff in the garage. But he is, like a completely classical trained actor, award winning at the highest level. Admired by his peers. It was great to see him perform. It was great to be part of that team. It was great to show off all the hard work from the makeup effects team. Christina Waltz was the designer on that, and she did a great job coordinating everyone, and she was the lead on my application. And that character is a Quarren. He's got tentacles, and that was a pretty fantastic experience. We filmed on that volume stage. I don't know if you heard anything about that. If you watched any of the behind the scenes of Mandalorian or anything
no.
like that, it's a humongous LED screen. Mandalorian was kind of the first studio to use this technology, the first piece of art to use that technology, and it's pretty fantastic. Humongous screen. They use the same type
Oh
of
no.
technology that like those first-person shooter video games use. So there's this entire like environment map
Okay.
that can be projected and moves with the camera's perspective. It's really fascinating. So there's a lot of set pieces in the foreground, and the floor would have artwork and designs on it, but then like the background was this humongous screen, and they would have all sorts of different environments on there. It's really cool. They've been using that technology more and more. That's kind of where the whole sphere technology erupted from.
Okay.
Pretty fascinating. I'm not like a technology savvy person, so
I dabble.
it's extra insane when I get to see that kind of stuff. I'm a very tactile artist.
Again, it's got to be these surreal moments because I can relate in the fact that like I'm in my office, I spend hours editing and talking to people, usually over the computer and or something of that nature. And then every once in a while, you're just like, oh shit, I am in this, I'm on this set, or I'm, hanging out with these rock stars, or I'm here, 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 and here. So I like the juxtaposition sometimes of just being in your own world and then being in somebody else's fully created reality. That's insane for you.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always been about artwork in a team. You know, sometimes I'll build the thing and I'll wear
Sure.
it, but you still need other people to help create, and the teams keep getting better and better. So I'm very grateful for that. You do
So
have some surreal moments like that, but
how do they how do they create some of these characters? Where do they draw from? Like maybe old, you know, old writings from George Lucas, or like again because it's just so rich with different species and stuff. Like how does that go from in somebody's mind to on screen, and where do you fit in there other than acting? Like how do you take their concepts?
well, the specific species that I played was a Quarren. Um, and the Quarren first made an appearance in Return of the Jedi as a background character at Jabba's little palace.
Gotcha.
And it's just kind of this character
I
that's in the
figured.
background. And
It's nice to hear.
yeah, and it kind of like just looked back and forth and didn't have a whole lot of involvement in the story, but it definitely was a standout character. Looked really cool. It's awesome design, and they pulled that design into a more advanced style mask for the Mandalorian. And if you watch the first episode of the Mandalorian, I believe that's the first character that the Mandalorian character kills. I think there's a Quarren that starts some trouble with him at a bar, and they have some sort of interaction and a fight, Western style shootout.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I was there. And then for Skeleton Crew, they decided to take the Quarren species and turn that into a makeup. So that was the first time that the Quarren species had been realized in makeup and not just a mask. So that character kind of evolved multiple stages. they had some designs. They had some looks for this character, and they did their best to make me look like that. They hit the target spot on. My character is a bit of a comic relief. There was a lot more kind of jokes and humor that were inside the dialogue, but the majority of that got cut. A lot of things get cut when you're working on these, to the point where I didn't really tell a whole lot of people until it came out, because you never know if you're gonna die on
You
the
weren't sure.
editing floor.
Yeah.
You know, it's all up to the last edit to see who's there and what's happening, and sometimes they don't have room for something, and you know, creative decisions change. And so yeah, it was pretty great. And you know, you try to do the writing and the entire lore of the property correct. You know, Star Wars is a delicate thing. You don't want to do it wrong. You don't want to upset the fans, and you also want to show off all the hard work of the team that designed, the costume team, the makeup, and the people filming, the other people you're in the scene with. They gave me a couple of pages of dialogue like a couple weeks before shooting. I didn't know what characters I was interacting with. There were only names. You know, nothing was released of what Jude Law's character's name was, so I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
So then when I showed up, you know, they had someone else that was going to be doing the voice. They had cast someone as a voice actor, and my first scene was directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, and she was really inspiring to work with.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I didn't know that until I showed up either. And she had a fantastic energy. She was very motivating and invigorating to the whole cast and crew. I felt very comfortable and appreciated, and I think everybody else did. And when you're playing those characters and your voice is going to be replaced, you still have to kind of hold place for the dialogue or hold place for the rest of the actors in that scene while it's happening. Even when you look at like Darth Vader, behind the scenes video before they replaced his voice with James Earl Jones, still had to deliver the lines. The rest of the people in the scene still had to react to what was going on, even if they didn't know what the final version was going to be like. So when I showed up, you know, there were a lot of, it looked like pirate slang inside of the script. So I was a little bashful with like Jude Law, like everyone doing a British accent. I asked Bryce Dallas Howard, are we going full pirate? She's like, oh yeah, we are going full pirate. Like, even though they say don't go full pirate, we're going full pirate. Like, all right, well, I just wanted to make sure and not like embarrass myself. And yeah, you never go. That's what she said. They say you never go full pirate, but we actually are going full pirate. And I was like, all right. And then did my best Lemmy impression, you know, from Motorhead. So my character had a really kind of gruff voice. He was supposed to be this tough guy that kind of was soft on the inside, and this kind of comic relief. He had, you know, these tentacles that reminded me of Lemmy's like mutton chops and his mustache. So I did a little Lemmy impression. Yeah, so I did a little Lemmy impression. They ended up keeping the vocals.
Can you do it? Oh, really?
Not right now, no. Yeah, it's a little embarrassing. I need the makeup.
I thought I'd ask, you know?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, so that was my little Lemmy homage in Star Wars.
Were you just in that one episode?
There were 2 episodes I was in. I was a pilot, and talked back to the ship, and then there was an episode in Obi-Wan where I played a character.
Yeah, not the same character, different character, the one that you worked on, and then
at Legacy Effects they built a series of characters. They also built a bunch of characters on Skeleton Crew. The main droid SM-33. They made a bunch of puppets for that, and they made a bunch of droids. Pretty fantastic stuff.
When you're working again in creature creation, do you feel more comfortable playing the character or building the character?
I think every build and design has its own characteristics, and sometimes I'm the perfect match, and sometimes I'm absolutely not the perfect match. If you want to play a really small, petite character, I am not a small, petite person. I'd probably be a bad casting for that. I feel pretty confident on the designs as long as I kind of know what the client wants or what our goal is. And if I have a strong team to work with, to be part of, then it's a lot less intense or scary because you're all in it together.
What's something that like your average person might not realize about bringing a creature to life in movies? Because I think people have basic ideas like it's a guy in a mask or use animatronics, but maybe the average person doesn't realize X or something.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the collaborative effort. I think every good character has three components that are equally important: the design aspect, the build aspect, and the performance. And if one of those things isn't working, it affects the other two. If the design isn't really good, no matter how well you paint it or fabricate it or how comfortable it is, it doesn't work and it doesn't have mood or feel. You have a great design, but the build isn't executed well. The paint is off. If it's supposed to move or something, if it doesn't move in the right way, if it doesn't allow the performer to try to give their best, then it's not right. And then if you go through this design process and you have the perfect costume, the perfect build, the best makeups, the best application that you've ever done in your entire life, and you do it on someone who's like claustrophobic or doesn't want to be covered up and wants to be exposed and like seen, then your character isn't going to work right. And those three things have to be in balance to make it work.
Do you, without maybe giving too much away, do you have any favorite stories or like even in a situation where that didn't work?
Oh yeah. A lot of times it doesn't work.
I'm trying to get some of the meat and potatoes, my friend. I want to hear the horror stories.
Juicy. Let's get something juicy. One time I was doing suit work in Mexico City. I was working on the Fox Sports robot appearances, doing promotions for Fox Sports channel, and I got food poisoning, or I think I brushed my teeth with the water on accident or something. And I was just sick, really bad, like 90 degrees, and I'm sweating in that thing. And the helmet I've got a really long nose. The helmet's like right up against my nose, and I was afraid. I was like, I'm taking pictures with kids and like high-fiving people, and the news is coming up, and it's, oh, we got the robot in the park, and I was afraid that I was going to vomit in this mask in my own face with all these people around me. Thankfully, we made it through without any mishaps. There's been times when things break on set. You're working with something and it dies, the battery's broken. Things happen that are unplanned. Sometimes you push the thing to the limit. Sometimes you spend too much time doing tests and getting the camera lined up, and then when it comes time to catch the performance, the makeup's already breaking away, and things like that happen. Part of being a professional is trying to avoid those situations, and part of being a professional is trying to make the best out of those situations when things like that happen. I think that most of my experience has been pretty successful as far as when it comes time to get that shot or to, make it happen. And then the rest of the crew's contributions help to support when something isn't as strong. Editing can come in, or you can help out a little bit with VFX here and there, or you can adjust lighting a little bit, or the angle can become more successful. Sometimes you show up when they say, hey, I thought we were going to do this side of the thing, and you built the thing to be on the opposing side, and communication gets confused, and you have to adapt.
That's where you were again talking about that team effort. It's a theme you've been touching on throughout this episode.
Yeah, I don't know.
To help each other
I
out,
like,
essentially.
yeah, I like working with a team. I like making the best out of it. I like
Yeah.
having other people around when I'm doing art, or someone to celebrate with when it goes well, or someone to still be around if it doesn't go well. Yeah, commiserate. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it. Is there a specific, other than the Star Wars, because that's a pretty big thing, can you tell me about other favorite moments on set? You worked in, again, a lot of movies. I've seen you did some stuff for James Gunn, did some painting. You, again, probably worked on countless things that I don't know about. What are some of your favorite moments?
I built a lot of stuff for superhero movies. I was a big comic book fan as a kid, and introduced to a lot of that from my older brother. Being able to build on all the Avengers movies is pretty cool. Assembling like Iron Man suit components, like Iron Man suits.
Oh, hell yeah!
Some components for Nebula, Iron Patriot. Still part of a really large team to make those happen. Aquaman was a really cool movie that I worked on. This different effects team, Fractured Effects. We made some really cool suits, stunt suits, and the guys were like running through walls and being ratcheted through all sorts of structures and things while wearing this armor, getting beat up by Aquaman. So that was pretty amazing. All these comic characters. I haven't worked on Doomsday, but I did work on all the other Avengers movies and Suicide Squad. Built some stuff for that. Sometimes I'm on set with it. I went to set on Swamp Thing for a little while and painted some suits out there. Did some fabricating of some other elements. That was another Fractured Effects project. Did some motion capture suit stuff on Iron Man 3 for the Iron Man suits when he's pushing some cars around and things like that.
Do you have any rituals when you're like creating art?
Other than jamming some good Tool? Oh yeah, other rituals. When I play characters, I try to do visualization meditation of me as the character and kind of a loss of my own self. And I'll do those. For that Glurb character I played, I did listen to a lot of Motorhead. Some fun Lemmy. Ace of Spades. Some good Lemmy interviews, where he's got a little bit of sass in his voice, and if he had a couple drinks in him, his accent would seem a bit thicker at times, and trying to be able to replicate that feel that he had. So that was kind of a ritual I do. I like to spend a little bit of time setting up my station to work and making sure everything is kind of clean, prepared, my tools are laid out. Just being able to have everything ready in case you're kind of like, you don't have to waste any time when you're inspired or when you're like in a flow state. Everything is ready for you. Now, I don't need it to be like completely surgical or anything like that, but I do like a little comprehensive layout, my station. And what other rituals? I do some transcendental meditation stuff, but that's just for the art. I think it's important to bring a good energy to the conversation or to like the team. There's been times where I haven't been my best.
Yeah.
I think we all have that. The better you can have a positive or productive kind of attitude and energy, it's good. I mean, you think about like, you have a dog, I have a dog. If you have this crazy, scared, tense energy, you get this anxious, crazy, scared, tense energy back, But if you go with a very warm, kind of calm, bring the best of yourself, and you end up kind of getting better results.
I think that's a perfect analogy. I do a poker night every once in a while, and he's perfectly fine until like an individual will start to lose. If like somebody's getting a little frustrated and they lose money, he gets a little like, "What's up? What do you guys need? How can I help this? Like, do you need to pet me to like calm
Yeah.
down, bro?" Like, and he gets
Yeah,
he gets a little shaky and like, "What the fuck?"
my dog doesn't like quick change in energy like that. If we're getting exciting and we're playing, and then it's awesome, but if all of a sudden, like, your football team's losing and you're like getting upset and throwing stuff, he might perceive that as violence and try to like go into guard dog mode.
He's like, "Who do we have to buy?"
Yeah. And I think people are kind of like that too, obligating or hiding that a
Oh
little bit
yeah,
easier, disguising it.
maybe some do, some don't.
Some don't.
I think without elaborating too much, again, we live in interesting times. Let's say that both, politically or even emotionally, computers, internet, like social media, it I think has changed people on, I don't know, some fundamental level, and not always for the better. Some people I've noticed that are a little more shaky nowadays. Is I guess what I'm getting getting to.
Yeah. This is the strangest life I've ever known.
Agreed. I'm really curious about this term character illusion that you've been using. Murray, can you not chew the bone right now?
Come
I
on, the
think he's
bone is
digging the energy.
good. The bone is good. Yeah, exactly.
He's like, you guys are having a good time. I'm gonna have a good time too. Character illusion. It's something, again, I do short films and write as well, working on a thing, but this idea of like you said, magic, of not necessarily tricking the audience, but convincing the audience. I'm wondering why that term stands out to you, and like what it means. This character illusion.
Well, I think, you start with character, you have something that has a thought, something that has feeling. And when we think about characters in story, they're also able to relate that feeling. You're able to understand or relate to that entity. That's kind of what character means to me. And then illusion is kind of like magic trick is almost like I'm lying to you. An illusion is
Yeah,
kind of like in on the secret.
it's a shared experience.
It's a shared experience. You like know that actor's not really bleeding in the horror movie. It's an illusion to what's happening in that character. We create that feeling that like it is real, like it is actually happening to that character. I needed something that encompassed all of the things that I'm doing. When you're working on film, every little job is so separate. Makeup effects, costume effects, puppets, they're all related to me. They're all things I like to do. They're all things that I get paid to build. That's part of my career. That's part of my job. And I needed something that kind of umbrellaed all of that. So I kind of broke it down, character illusion.
Poetic in a way, because this interview is the first time I've heard that term. I think it's quite elegant way of describing, again, what you do. There's multifaceted things that have to do with getting, something like, and I'm just going to use reference, the creature like Jaws, even, classic.
Jaws.
It didn't work as intended, but there
It
was an
almost never
entire
worked.
team of people that had to. Yeah, exactly. But the illusion was there. The character was there. Like,
Yeah, if you ever see like behind the scenes of that, it's like a fish and it's like on wheels so that they could wheel
yeah,
it on the bottom of the water, right? On the bottom of the tank or on the bottom of wherever they were
yeah,
filming. It's a really interesting looking contraption. And sometimes it's like not one thing, sometimes it's multiple things. You make, like in Aliens, they make the one head that is the close up, and that's like the tongue comes out,
yeah,
and you can see the saliva and the ooze and the movement in it. And then they have a larger suit that's worn, but it doesn't have all that close up stuff all the time. Sometimes it's just for a wider shot so you can see the character in a larger scale. So there's all these different things to make up one character, when we build the Iron Man suits, we would make multiples. We'd make one that's really pristine, one that's just for stunts, one that's like a battle damage that would progress all the way through. Sometimes there'd be a duplicate. So all of those different things, all of those different builds would create one character. And there's a lot that goes into that. I wanted something that incorporated like the stage stuff that I do too. The stuff for the bands, the stuff
Sure.
for touring musicians. I wanted something, a term that could encompass all of that. So that's what I came up with
I
to
really
try to
like it.
to try to like conserve my words.
Again, I think that there's a skill again in creating something that can be digestible in an elegant way, right? You could spend 5 minutes telling everybody what you do every time you meet them, or you can be like, oh, I work in character illusion.
The performance is like different than the building and that kind of thing too. So I think it also encompasses the performance.
Sure. Because again, there is Danny Carey in real life, and there is the drum god Danny Carey as well.
Yeah, I think sometimes you embody another entity when you're on stage in some ways. Not everybody.
I feel like he embodies an octopus.
That's what I'm saying. Sounds like there's 3 drummers on stage.
Is there a character, maybe like, again, we mentioned Jaws, Terminator, something that like really inspired you growing up where you're like, fuck, that's awesome? Or something that you
Well,
maybe is timeless or that you keep coming back to?
I mean, Chewbacca is probably one of the best, right? Like he's this alien creature. He's kind of like a dog, right? Like your dog, but if your dog could
Sorry.
fix your car and like kick people's ass, you know what I mean?
And give you shit?
Yeah, and bust your balls. I always knew that that was like a guy in a fursuit, you know what I mean? But still, you love that guy in a fursuit. So that was some of my early stuff.
No,
And then when I was like 9 years old, my older brother showed me Terminator and Predator like in the same night. That was just like mind blowing, rated R science fiction. Aliens, um, Pumpkinhead, Jurassic Park,
oh yeah.
all
Sure.
these
I love the
fantastical
original
creatures.
concept. I love the original concept that they had for the Predator, where it just like looks completely different, like this weird elongated nose, and just again
Yeah,
how things change too. Like I heard Van Damme was originally supposed to be the Predator, and he was like, "Nah, I don't like this," and they bounced.
yeah. Well, that's a classic example of when the design doesn't work. The build was really cool. The character, I don't think was as captivating, but it did have a really difficult time performing in the jungle. And I also know that Van Damme was not able to perform the way that, like, what his specialty is. If that character could have been doing
Yeah,
somersaults and splits in the middle of the trees, well, then that would have been a really badass character. But I don't think that suit design
yeah,
allowed,
no,
yeah, it didn't allow him to perform to his specialty. So the Stan Winston team built that Predator suit while they were filming the other scenes. They had a very limited time to do it. They left the design they left a lot more responsibility of the design to the artists. So the artists were able to come up with something that they could do and maximize their art, really showcase what they could do.
sure.
And they got a new performer, Kevin Peter Hall, and he portrayed that character fantastically. They had animatronics in the mouth,
What?
so that was a
Yeah, those
puppeteered
again,
aspect.
they hold up.
Yeah, so team effort, better team effort, created something completely iconic from. They had to adapt. They had to work as a team. They had to get really creative.
What about something in more modern cinema? Is there something? I know there's a lot of like CGI and stuff, and maybe we could even touch on AI here in a second. But is there something on something in modern cinema or filmmaking that has caught your attention?
I think the new revival of Star Wars has been really engaging. I really like some of the offbeat horror that's coming out with these really unique designs, really interesting stories that are kind of atypical. I think that there's been a lot of like innovation and creativity that's been allowed for some of these horror movies that you don't really get with some of the larger budget characters or franchises. So that's been really
Sure.
inspiring to me. And I'm like a music video nerd. Some of the most inspiring stuff to me is music videos. That's one thing I really appreciate about Tool. I really like Prodigy's videos, anything from Kevin
Yeah.
Cunningham. I like to make music videos. My friend Taz and I always team up and do music videos. We just did one for this band Colm, friends of mine for 20 years. This band Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum. We did that music video for Volto years back. So anything that allows for a little bit of like creativity and adaptation. And it doesn't always have to be like effects related. One of my favorite movies is Spun, and that doesn't have a whole lot
I
of
love that
makeup
movie.
effects.
John Leguizamo. So
Man, everybody in that movie is just perfect.
Brittany Murphy.
Perfect performance
Yeah.
from every actor in that movie. And the editing is really creative, and the storytelling is really creative, and they have
Yeah.
animations, and
There's a tone to that movie that makes it feel like meth.
yeah, and it's like a dark comedy. I mean, that was really inspiring to me. You know, anything Christopher Nolan does is always very
Sure,
impactful.
that guy's the master now, right?
He is.
He can almost do no wrong. I can't wait to see the Odyssey.
Yeah, I worked on that one too. I painted a bunch of armor for all the main characters.
Did you get to go on set on that?
I did not. I did not go on set for that. I was just painting. I was just hired artist labor. That
So
was
you
through the
show up
costume
to like a
department.
big studio and all the stuff is there?
Yeah, I think that we're shooting that one at Universal, and they have. You ever like go to school and then like the town starts growing and like they would have to add those additional units in the back in the parking lot to accommodate more kids.
Yeah. The
You ever remember
bungalows.
that? Bungalows. So they kind of have these little bungalows set up for the costume team or this project. They have other larger office space too, but some of this armor building where we're using urethanes and leathers and paints and things like that. All that was done in a bungalow unit. We had like washer and dryer going to age and dye different materials, and I was kind of painting in a pop-up tent for most of that show. Not very glamorous whatsoever, but we got some really great results. I'm excited to see that movie. I hope everyone enjoys it. I think it's going to be fantastic. It'll be a
Did you get to
spectacle
see
no
any
matter what.
dailies of like your work on?
You know, we did see we'll see camera tests. We'll see like
Yeah.
a little of this or that, but most of the dailies come along after all the paintwork's been approved and things have been shipped out to film. One thing that's kind of cool about that film is they went to a lot of the locations to film it, the historical locations near Greece and Italy. And
Yeah, no, it's super neat. Behind you, is that a Legends of the Siegelman mask or something of that nature?
yeah, that's exactly what that is.
What
So this is another one of Danny's band, side bands. And they reached out to me about creating this character mask to keep a couple of the members seem a bit anonymous. And that band's kind of cool. It's got this kind of like lore about it. You know, it's kind of comical in a way, really heavy. Rest in peace, Brent Hines. So yeah, this is pretty simple. So it's a duplicate of what I made for them.
I was lucky enough to see them at a benefit show with Primus.
Was that?
It was a benefit show. Danny Carey was there and Justin Chancellor was there, and they kind of all did a thing in Hollywood.
Yeah, I think it was
a
at
years
that
ago
show.
for
Yeah.
the director who unfortunately had cancer at the time. They were doing a benefit show for him.
He's making a strong recovery. Jimmy Hayward, cool guy.
Yeah, Jimmy Hayward
Done some amazing work, and I felt really fortunate to work with them. They were all great guys. They treated me really nice.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
won't keep you for too much longer because I can talk about movies all day. Again, going
Well,
back
we
from the
can always
history
catch
of,
up
like you
again
said,
in a couple of
Forrest.
weeks or something.
I would love that. Again, there's just what is it? How long has film been around? Almost 150 years, and I think
Yeah.
120 of that or whatever they've been manipulating people to again create this character illusion. But and again, you've touched on a bunch of cool things. I'm like I have two last questions. One, what is the proudest moment, I guess, is for lack of a better term, in your career so far? Like one where you're like, I fucking nailed it.
I guess that would have to be when Danny asked me to do another suit. The first one didn't suck too bad, so we get to do another.
Sure.
I mean, what's cooler than something for Tool? I'm a rock and roll junkie at heart. You know, science fiction's my second love.
Same.
That was probably a career highlight for me. And then, you know, playing a character in Star Wars is pretty cool accomplishment. Um, I mean, the poster
Yeah,
design,
that's epic.
that's pretty epic for me. Um, you know, any one of these things could be the highest point of my career. You know, I got to paint a bunch of stormtroopers for Star Wars on the new Mandalorian movie. Some
Oh,
Mandalorian
nice.
character. That's pretty awesome. Working on Iron Man was pretty cool because at the time it was the biggest character in the entire world. You couldn't
Yeah, it
hide
was.
from Iron Man. Yeah, it was on like, you know, soda cans and Subway sandwiches, and it was just everywhere. And then and my
Doritos,
kids,
chips.
yeah, I have two kids. Shout out to my son Chris and my son Eli, and they were at the age to kind of like enjoy that and realize that it was, you know, a popular character, and that was rewarding for me. So these are all pretty cool things I've done, things that I feel very fortunate to be able to participate in and to offer my services best I can.
Other than the Odyssey, any other big projects coming up?
Well, I touched on Mandalorian and Grogu movie. I
Yeah.
painted a bunch of armor on that for. Been working on a Star Trek TV show called Strange New Worlds, and
Cool.
yeah, so I've been making a bunch of aliens at Legacy Effects for that. Oh, one of my other favorites was Swamp Thing. I got to,
I
you know,
love that
paint
show.
on. Yeah, thank you very much. I loved it too. The
It was
design,
dark.
that
It was
fractured.
broody.
Yeah, I also love that character. Big fan of that character.
Yeah.
Underappreciated character in my opinion. Also worked on the Resident Evil movie recently.
Would you ever make a movie on your own?
I'm actually kind of writing two movies. One's kind of a short, one's a feature, and then I'm also writing a TV show. The TV show is a bit of a sci-fi comedy, and the feature's kind of a horror. I'd love to be able to produce something on my own, write something on my own, or incorporate a team with that. I think some of the storylines Taz and I have created have been really successful, and they continue to expand. So we've talked about doing shorts with dialogue. So I'll probably be doing more shorts with dialogue before I do all the pre-production work to create a feature. But I do have a few of those things that I'm pushing for, where I'm kind of creating more characters from scratch as opposed to just doing design work for somebody else's character.
I'd be excited to see that.
Awesome.
Again, lean towards that too as well. Like, right, I'm working on a feature, and
Nice.
it's not an easy gig, you know. And again, you need a team.
Yeah, you need a team.
Last question: what advice? It's a two-parter. What advice would you give creatives, and what was the best advice given to you?
The advice I would give is to, we touched on unstable things seem nowadays, how intense things seem. My advice would be to try to avoid worrying too much about those things and what you can't control, and focus on what you're outputting, whether that be good energy, whether that be your best art, whether that be your attitude towards people that you interact with on a daily basis. Try to put forth the best of you, and you will feel satiated creatively. You will feel satiated, as a human. And I would also recommend trying to develop community. I think there's many forces that are trying to push us apart, and the more that you can relate to people and create with people, the better you're going to feel, the stronger your community is going to be, and the more positive effect you can create, the bigger the ripple of what you're outputting will be.
Again, great advice. What about advice that was given to you?
One time Adam told me to just fucking do it. I was feeling very apprehensive about, moving to LA or to pursue makeup effects as a career. That was pretty inspiring. It helped me remove a lot of apprehension and doubt, and just remember that, like, another thing with art, it's not always about what you make. Sometimes it's just about how you feel while you're doing it.
I really like that, actually.
And if it makes you feel better, if it soothes you. I play music. I play guitar. It's the worst shit you've ever heard. I stumble through it.
I play drums not very well.
Yeah. But it feels really good to do it.
We should jam sometime.
Yeah, it sounds like a train wreck. Yeah, but it would, if it makes you feel better, then it's all worth it, man. And if it makes you feel better as a team, in a group, with a friend, with the stranger, whatever, if you're creating as a team, it's really powerful.
Again, there's been this theme to this episode that has been surprising and very pleasant, this team and community aspect. It's not something, again, I didn't think that you would be this loner or like lone wolf type character or anything, but it is refreshing to hear somebody speak about community. Again, I think I talk to a lot of artists, and it is just them in a room, figuring it out on their own, and of course there are other people involved here and there in production and whatnot, but it's not highlighted as much as you have this episode, and I find it refreshing and inspiring as well.
Well, I appreciate that. And even those artists that are creating alone and in the basement or in their little studio, or like working those late hours in the middle of the night, I still do all that stuff too. But I try to take the work that I've done, bring it to someone else who's been working alone, and combine the two things that we've been doing together. You talk to some of these poster artists, they still need someone to handle all the things and modify them, add the logo work. They need the band to be able to promote what's going on. They need to, I don't know. I think when you boil it down, there's more people involved than just one person, even when you're one person.
Yeah.
You need a publisher. Yeah. Are there other people that help you with your podcast?
No. I mean, you are the guests.
There you go. So now we're teaming up. Yeah, now we're a team. So maybe without other people to interview, you wouldn't be able to create this podcast. Without people listening to it, you wouldn't be able to create it.
Exactly. And there's
you've got a revolving door of team. Yeah, you have a revolving door of team members.
It sometimes, I think, takes somebody to say it out loud and give that perspective, because it can feel lonely or isolating, if anything. And then, something happens, and, again, somebody like you says the right thing, and you're like, oh, you know what? You were right. And that is refreshing, and it is invigorating. So thank you.
Yeah, man. I think that's kind of what I feel when I go see live music too. Like, as a fan of live music, when everybody's there and they're all excited about that artist, or like, you know, the band starts one song and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they're playing this shit," and everyone freaks out. It's a really
Yeah.
powerful feeling, it's a very unifying feeling, even though you can kind of be like, "Oh, don't bump me," or, you can have your own kind of feelings at a concert, but that feeling of everybody's there together for the same thing, it's magic, man.
It truly is. Again, thank you for your perspective. Yeah, you're inspiring, and I'm trying not to blow smoke at the same time, but this has been an impactful podcast, so I appreciate it. Do me a favor and plug yourself. I don't know if you sell anything other than your time, but if you want people to look at your work or visit maybe your Instagram or something like that, please tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me at Instagram/Dreamlore Studio, and then it's all one word, Lore Studio. And you can follow my personal account off that, probably Sir Beef Squatch. And then if
I
you
love
want
that
to check
name.
out my,
I was going to ask you about that too.
yeah, we can talk about that. Maybe another episode. But you can find me at dreamlorestudio.com.
Sure.
I have a little website. There's a menu up top that takes you to a couple different pages. It shows my performance work, it shows my design work, and it shows some of the work I've done at larger studios. And right now, I don't have a whole lot of stuff for sale, but I will be posting up a couple of those Tool posters that we did for the Brazil show. You can't really get them anymore. They're not on the website. They're not
Nope.
duplicating them. Kind of a limited run. So I have a couple of those that I'll be posting up soon, and a couple original pieces. And then I'm going to have some T-shirts coming up pretty soon too. That's about it. That's you track me down. You can
I'll
follow
be
what
getting
I'm
one of the
making.
T-shirts.
Sweet, man.
So yes, please visit his site and look out for the Tool poster that'll be coming up again. I saw it online for a second, literally, and then it was gone. So there will be some coming up. Jacob, thank you so much for being on the show. Again, I would love to do this again, and we'll get into Sir Beef Squatch.
Yeah, Kris, man. Christopher, thank you so much. It's been really fun, and I know we've tried to do this a couple of times, and travel and things have kind of been offset. It'd be cool to meet up in person sometime. It sounds like you're over in Los Angeles, and I make it over to Vegas every once in a while for work and for
I'm in
concerts.
Vegas.
So yeah. So let's try to meet up when we can, and definitely do another podcast. And when I got those posters back up, maybe you shoot me a little shout out and let the fans know that they're available, since they are such a limited item. And
Yeah,
you should have my
I
friend
would definitely
Taz
do
come
that.
on and do a podcast with you. I think he'd be a really interesting guest.
I
I
was
think you'd have a
thinking the
lot of
same thing.
fun. Yeah, I think you'd have
I
a lot
was
of fun
thinking the
with that
same
guy. He's
thing.
charming. Yeah.
I can't wait. So again, thank you. We're going to end, but don't go anywhere. Spiral Out Podcast is hosted by, created by, mixed by, edited by me, Kris West. Make sure you go to rockabilia.com for all your official band merch. Use the code Spiral Out to get 10% off your order. And go to spiraloutpodcast.com for all your somewhat recent Tool Spiral Outy news and other bands and such art things.